you won't look back in 10 years and go, thank fuck I sat up and I solved that problem instead of having dinner with my kids. That forced regret of missing time with my kids has helped me put things down, but also trying to go, well, I want to be better. So you are choosing this experience, which means you're indulging in your own suffering, which is fine. But people find this despair, and it's like, actually, just recognize that you've chosen this experience. And at any point, you can ask yourself the question, do I want to continue this experience, or do I want to experience something new? And you just...
I've felt like whenever people are using school, they're usually honing their offer for like a really long time. It feels like it's actually a permanent thing. The offer changing is like the front window changing of a retail store. Like, it's never done. It's like you have to represent everything. You might have the same offer, but you kind of have to come up with these different, like, compelling new, like, things to bring people back in. So you might like give away a one-on-one call for a month. You see people kind of like, they add and take away from their offer for a long time to kind of reel it in. And then the market changes too, so your offer evolves. And so I think that my thinking is like, especially now that I'm coding like with AI, my thinking is, if I just find a way to record every change that you make to your offer, every change that you make to your about page, and I also can look at what direction your ads are going in, I should be able to give the person really, really specific advice. Like, hey, you switched out your VSL. I could see your old VSL script, your new one. I can see how your ads changed. Like, things aren't getting better. The creatives, you didn't change your creatives, but you changed that one element. So like, let's dive into this VSL. Like, it feels like you would have enough data to just fly a little less blind and not just be kind of generally optimizing, but be able to like record all this information and then also like have a log and remember. Because for us, like, our churn, dude, was at like 40% after the school games. It was at like 30% by the end of the year. And then Joel got it down to like 9% now in the last like 30 to 60 days. And like, we don't really know why. We were doing all kinds of stuff everywhere, but these models are so good at taking like a fuck ton of information and then just being like, this is why that happened. Just like, you did this, And so for me, it's kind of like the log, like GitHub. It's like the change log for people that make code bases. And I feel like the momentum is like the log for people that are like kind of thinking about their school, their offer, their about page. What do I write for my VSL? What do I make for an ad? Is that working? Do people like it? It's kind of like an evolving model that knows enough information so that you don't have to constantly like, go to your GPT memory, which is shared with like all your personal information and all of the random things you think about in life, and you try to get it to like do something for you, So like I also see the tool being good for like making things, making like copy or whatever, making a post for your group. Those things will be easy to do like down the road if we are just collecting boatloads of information. But that's like what I'm doing. I'm like really sorry. I'm like in the trenches on it right now that I'm like,
that's cool.
hey.
I mean, I've got questions. So I want to know then, like, because obviously, the best way to measure things is where you only change one thing and see what happens. But what you're saying is like, if you're changing your ads and, and you're changing your offer and you're changing, your VSL and all this sort of stuff, you're saying that the AI, over time we'll be able to figure out, even if you're changing multiple things at once, which thing was the greatest, lever.
Yeah, I think that because the ads lab has like observed so many people's spending habits, and then we have to look at the offer that's related to that. I feel like because there's going to be benchmarks associated with the tool, we should be able to like help people understand if they're like hitting the benchmark or not. And then we might be able to tie it to one specific event with a lot of confidence. Like,
Mm.
you started to miss the mark, like right around here. What did you do? You did these things. It might not even be full confidence. It might just help people understand, like, you started to things started to break down, like when you change your about page, like in the middle of the month, it was actually better or worse, whatever it might be. But I feel like things evolve pretty constantly on school, and like it makes it hard sometimes to have just like a lay of the land and like a quick understanding as to like where you are. Also, just like making things, like I have to make a post or make an ad or make like an email to people. Like anything I make, I just feel like I'm always like starting from ground zero when I should just kind of have like a bed of knowledge to start from. So I'm kind of like I'm building it because I'm just tired of like this. Like I have like 5,000 million ChatGPT threads, chats. Just tired of it, dude. It's super annoying. Like I almost need an account like per business or something because the memory is like just so jacked, and so like
Are you using projects though?
Do I use what?
Projects in ChatGPT?
Not very much. I use the Mac app, and I don't think projects works on the app. Does it work on the? It works on the. Do you use it?
Yeah, I do. That's been great to be able to just put it together.
So what do you do in projects? What kind of projects do you have?
Well, so like I was saying about the family office stuff, so then you can have, with the project, you can set it up and you can have like your rules. What does it say? Yeah, you can have instructions, So like for me, I'd say, it needs to be in British English, it needs to be in, if it's something that, is here, it needs to be in Australian dollars and all that sort of stuff. And then you can add key files that then the project will refer to those instructions and files for anything that's happening underneath it.
Is this Claude or is this ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Oh, ChatGPT projects.
You're on the paid one, yeah?
Yeah, we have a team one.
Yeah.
Team paid GPT projects. Set custom instructions for the projects. So this isn't a custom GPT, this is a project?
Yeah, no, this is just standard. I don't know if it's available in the free ChatGPT, but yeah.
Well, we have a team one. Oh, there's a plus button. We have a team, which is like pro, I think, but it's not plus, or maybe it's plus, but not pro. I don't fucking know. It's the one that's not $200 a month. It's like
plus
50.
25 a team member, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Plus project.
Which I think is plus, right? So you'll be on the business one.
Plus. Dude, I'm in here trying to figure this out. Projects. I want to do this, dude. Right now.
It's been so good. And you can just drag different threads into the project as well.
Yeah. Projects keep chat files and custom instructions in one place. To create a project, the plus button next to project on the top right of the page. What? I don't see that. I might not have this.
Yeah, so if you go down the side, you got ChatGPT, Sora,
right.
DALL-E, Explore GPTs, and then projects. And then
oh shit, dude, there it is. It's right in the middle. Thank you for explaining it like I'm 5. I needed that. Okay, projects. Nice. But what about memory? Like, does it still have a shared memory across projects?
No, within the project, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right.
It's good, man. I'm telling you, like, because that's where I was struggling with ChatGPT, because it was the same thing. It was like, it could pull from, like, it didn't used to be able to pull from different threads, I noticed, but it changed sometime late last year that, I could say, hey, you know about this, this community or this project or something, to it, and it could figure it out. But yeah, and then they brought out projects, and I was just like, I just dumped the threads in there, and then it just would refer to it automatically without having to tell it to do it. And I was just like, oh, man,
dude, I can even drag shit into the project. I got a backlog. I'm gonna have to handle that later.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to handle that shit later, dude.
It's so good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh man, what do you like working on right now? What's a fun Dave project? What are you having fun with? Anything?
Oh, honestly, and it sounds so wanky, but like half the stuff I'm working on, I've signed NDAs for.
Oh shoot.
Which is frustrating. But like the family office stuff that I was talking to you about earlier, which has been great. My old man, he took his company public. I don't know, maybe in the early 2000s, something like that. And then after that, just went building a sort of investment empire, but kept it all in his head and on a simple spreadsheet. And
Dang.
he had a bad fall late last year, and it's sort of it was interesting. Because he's got an oil company he's been working on for 20 years with a couple of mates, and they've found a massive chunk of gas and all this sort of stuff. And I've been watching that series, Succession. I don't know if you've seen.
Oh man, dude, yeah, so good.
Loved it. And so I was down in Melbourne last week, catching up with him, and I just said, I said the worst thing is that at the end of the show, the old man dies, and everything he's worked for is just gone. And I said, like, no one knows any of your stuff. And he's always been so cagey, he's just like, and that it's like, so what happens if so your oil company, that is on the cusp of like sort of generationally changing the family, you die tomorrow, you have another fall, and it gets sold, and then 20 years of what you're working for is just like, and I said, sure, you'd be dead, so you wouldn't know, but you're not dead now, so like, does that change how, like, are you actually thinking about any succession planning and, making sure that what you've actually been, working your lifetime to build would continue after that, and that really hit him as like, okay, I need to actually work on this. So that's been something, I've wanted to sort of assist him with for, I don't know, maybe 20 years and finally got to the point. So I'm trying to digitize and, trying to create a system and, a bunch of, complex spreadsheets that track every asset and all that sort of stuff. And, which is good. Like I love data and I love spreadsheets and that's fun. And then as I say, I got three communities, one not so much, one sort of community. And the two others are sort of just, they're back on the drawing boards. And then just a bunch of deals that, that I'm just helping put together and negotiate good terms for everyone and all that sort of stuff, but can't really, unfortunately, get into them.
Dude, you used to have like something like 500 million followers on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. And I noticed that when I click your link, dude, nothing happens. You get did you get an IG ban, Dave? What's going on?
I did, man. I did.
Sucks.
I got attacked. So basically, I got spam reported as impersonating someone else, and when they do it in that way, and they report you so many times in a short period of time, it removes the chance of having appeal. So basically, I can get it back. Like I know guys that do this and pull them down and bring them back. But when it happened in like early December, and I tell you, man, the forced disconnect, I was like, oh, this is so good, man. and I never would have done it myself. And so it's like, yeah, because I had a catch up call with the guy off school, and he said the same thing last week. He's like, "Oh man, like, like, what's with your Instagram?" I was just like, "Oh no, this is what's happening." But I tell you, like, when I look at my screen time, I'm just like, I've got so much more, time back and clarity, and and that's the thing. We all bullshit ourselves and say, "Oh, it's all work," and it's like, bullshit. So I I will be bringing it back. I don't know, but I'm not in a hurry. Hey, I've really, really enjoyed having that digital detox.
Dude, it's so hard to stay off of my computer, my phone, especially now that I'm building stuff. It's just like I'm always trying to do some big thing that like takes me into the night. Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's kind of a struggle with the family balance. It's like kills me. But I'm usually I have like cycles where I'm pretty good about it, but then I go through periods where I just like lose all control, like pretty consistently. And I'm in a period like that right now. Like the other night, like I had this bug, I was working on it, and Ashley's like, I made dinner. And so I went upstairs with my computer in my hand and I was like working. I was like, I'm sorry, I have to finish this. And I hated it. But I can't like put it down until it's fixed. It's just so hard. And so I'm sitting there at the dinner table, computer's there. I'm like debugging and taking bites, and the family's there. It felt like a jerk. And then all night too, just like for a couple hours, I was like trying to figure this out. I finally figured it out, and I was like, okay, I figured it out. It's done. And she's like, we're trying to sleep. I'm just like, okay. It's one of those like seasons where I lose control, and I realize I'm losing control. The goal is to gain control, but I don't know. Do you go through this? Is it just me?
Massively.
Like, do you have
Massively.
control?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us are quite obsessive like that, right? And I suppose, the thing is, like, I love solving problems too. It's, the biggest thing I probably do. Like, every deal I put together is really just solving a problem. And it's that trying to understand, this is why I look at it, the trying to understand what's the driving factor for it. Like, am I trying to avoid something and that's why I'm spending time here? Or, am I like overindulging for some reason and it's like giving me some good dopamine hit or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I realized that it's like, well, we all want to be, well, I know we want to be better, so I would set myself that challenge of being like, okay, no, the hardest thing to do right now isn't solve the problem. The hardest thing is to put this down, and so I've been like, well, make that the problem that you're going to focus on. If you've got to solve a problem, focus on that one. And I think, because like my kids now are, look, Sophie, my daughter, Valentine's baby, so she's about to be 13, and my son Jack is 15 next month. And and I put up a post in school last year about just mourning, the loss of my, children being kids. It's like shit, like what happened? And the only advice I'd have to you, man, is that it's like you won't look back in 10 years and go, thank fuck I sat up and I solved that problem instead of having dinner with my kids. Like, if I could go back, and my kids were like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to sort of 8, any of those years, oh man, I would give up anything, for that. Because just that sweet, innocent, experience of your kids, and the way that they look at you when they're tiny, and and just that, so that's been tough, of like not not really realizing how quickly your kids grow up and how it's like one day. And for me, it was like, so in Australia, the kids go primary school to year 6, and then year 7 to 12 is high school. And I know for you guys, you have whatever it's called, the in between one. But there is this massive jump that when they go from year 6 to year 7, they literally go from kids to young adults, even though, they're only whatever they are, like 11 years old or something. But they're now playing with the kids that are, 18 years old, and they force themselves to grow up so quick. And it's like, I was not ready for that, So it's like any of those primary years that have that, with my kids, and that's what I now. It's like I really try and get up either before them or try and crank through the day while they're at school, and then when they get home, because I was like spending the afternoon, I'm like, no, I have to do this, I have to solve this thing, and it's like and then a week goes past, and a month, and and then a term, and a semester, and now like a year's gone past, and it's like, holy shit, for what? I don't remember what I was doing, last Tuesday afternoon, but my kids remember that they were, having to sort of figure out life for themselves. So that's been the way that that forced regret of missing time with my kids has helped me put things down, but also trying to go, well, I want to be better. So, yes, I definitely have a super addictive personality, and going, okay, well, I know that, that addictive side is great because you obsess about things and solve them, but it's also not great because you neglect the things that you actually value.
Dude, man, that's that's like the cycle of balance that is it's just so strong back and forth. It's just like all family, and then swing all the way to all work, and all family, and swing all the way to all work. And I think I'm getting better about prioritizing family since Indigo was born. But since jumping on school, it has been harder at times. It's like, feels like there's more of a time bound thing because of games and monthly reoccurring, and all these things give me a little bit more of this like urgency. And unless I rely on more people, which I'm trying to do, it is harder to disconnect.
But I think we all look at things from a perspective that we want to look at them, and I think that you could choose to say, hey, thanks for joining Ads Lab, I'm a father, got young kids, I need to have balance, so I will be here, but I also need to be there, and if that doesn't work for you, then that's fine. Go find some young hustle guy that is kid free, just be here 24 hours a day and stuff like that. But the thing is that we don't say that, and then we're like, well, we have to be here. It's like, well, it's only because you created that expectation that then now you have to live up to it. But we can choose a different expectation that revolves around us picking the balance that we actually want to experience.
Yeah. Dude, I went on this mushroom hunt with Ashley over the weekend. It was the first time that her and I hung out one-on-one in several months, because it's like I'm working, and then when I'm not working, it's like the three of us. It's me and her and Indigo. And with Indigo, she's two. So we're always watching. We're always we're not hovering types of parents, but like, she's crazy. She's crazy as fuck. So like, she's like, if we're out and about, dude, she's sprinting around the room. She's climbing on stuff. She's like 90% of the time intruding on other people's space. And so like we have to protect these other people's egos more than anything else. Like she's fine, but so we're often like we hang out but with her, and it was so different to just hang out one on one. It was so nice. It's like a different experience now than it used to be when we didn't have a baby, to hang out one on one. And dude, we went mushroom hunting, which was a first, and we found we ended up we ended up getting 3 pounds of oyster mushrooms we picked.
Wow.
We fucking destroyed, and gave me a whole new appreciation for like her and like finding food, like foraging. I was like, this is so cool. This is what I want to do in life. And I feel like this is the this is the like addictive pattern. I'm just like, at the end of it, I'm just like, let's go all in on hunting mushrooms forever now. This is all I want to do. Anytime I do something, I'm like, I'm all in. But it's such a good time, dude. These hiking around in the forest with all these strangers that know a shit ton about mushrooms, and we had the biggest haul of anybody, and we didn't know what we were doing, which was awesome. That felt like a massive win. I was like, team Devash, but like, I don't know, man. I feel like the human experience stuff has like I have a hard time like just starting it and like committing to it and just putting it on the schedule compared to the things that are like building the software right now. It's like I just wake up and the first thought I have is like, that database you built has the wrong schema. I bet you could fix it. And it's just like, oh, you're right. And I think about, I'm like, I was thinking about it wrong, and I have to like dart into my room. And it's what I like doing. I like getting sucked into that, but it's easy and it's like automatic right now. And I'm trying to like, I feel guilty that the human things aren't currently like happening automatically. Like those should be, I don't know, I just feel like those are the easy automatic things, like hanging out with my wife, my kid. But it's like I have to schedule those, right? And I've been feeling like off, like I need to correct this imbalance. But at the same time, there's this other part of me that's like, dude, you've come a long way, and you get to do what you like, and you get sucked in. It's like your life's work could be here. You know, it's like these two guys on my shoulders, and I'm just like, I'm always kind of overwhelmed by it, to be honest. I'm always just like, what do I do? I feel like it now. It's just you're my therapist, Dave, but now I don't know. That's like my current season of life is figuring that out, like bringing it back to balance yet again, because I've become obsessed with something like yet again. It feels like.
So, all right, I got something to say on that. Like, I mean, I haven't been an employee for, I don't know, 20 something years. And the I mean, and I don't ever want to be one again, but the upside of it was there was rules and structure, right? And it wasn't, like if this other thing had to get done, and it's like, well, no, you need to put that down. You need to go and do that thing. And it's like, you just had to do it. And so, like the same as I was saying with, my Instagram, when it was like forced upon me as almost like a rule, it's like, and now you will not be on there. I was just like, this is great, and when I got divorced, and it was like, now you're a single dad, and you will, stop working and look after your kids and all that. And I'm just like, okay, now I do that. And so it becomes this non-negotiable. But it's like, like even for us non-conformists, that there is so much freedom within rules that if they are non-negotiables, and you're just like, this is the thing that I'm doing now, because, as entrepreneurs, right, like we're always just like tinkering and, going down the rabbit hole, and you never know where it's going to lead or what, problem it's going to lead to next. But that's the thing that we, get off on. We love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think I've found, as I say, especially, after getting divorced, that that forced, no, when, school time ends, if I pick up the kids or if they take the bus or whatever that time is, it's like, I need to stop work, even if I'm in the middle of something, because they are my priority, and that's the time that's allocated for them. And it becomes, quite rigid, but it also, which inherently goes against what I'm about. But I have found, so much freedom in just going like, well, that's the time. I like the kids just can't sit at school. I got to go pick them up, because I want to solve this problem. So you are forced to put it down, and then I'm forced to change, the hat that I'm wearing from, problem solving to dad, and I'd be the dad. And it's like, it's good. I don't know, I haven't cracked how to force myself, to do things that aren't forced upon me like that, like divorce or the Instagram being taken down to control my social media consumption and stuff like that. It's that's the bit that I'm curious about.
It chooses you, seems like.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's like how you look at the world, right? Like if you're always inherently looking that, everything is positive and happening for you and stuff like that, it's like, a curveball comes up. Like, when the Instagram got taken down, I was like, what the fuck? And then, I was like, actually, oh, this feels good. Oh no, this, everyone's like, oh, you're going to get it back today. I'm like, no. Nah. And then I was like, oh, I'll get it back in January. And it's like January came and went. Now we're in February, and I'm like, yeah, maybe, So it's like, I think those forced times to actually, because like you're saying, it's like, and I've been the same, that pendulum of like, fully doing this and fully doing that. And it's like creating a structure that finds that balance, but then somehow, forcing yourself to stay to that structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
which is that,
yeah, sorry, just one last thing I was going to say is that even, now, like so I have my kids every other week, so for 7 days. And then on the other 7 days, then, my partner, she doesn't have her kids for a couple of those days. And it's like, then we go and have a date and we just focus on us. And that happens now every fortnight. It's like when I was married, like we would, like you're saying, it's like, when did we get alone time? Basically never. And it's like, it puts so much strain on marriages and things like that. But now because of this structure, it allows that flexibility for that to happen. You got to, somehow create it.
Yeah. Is a fortnight like a week? What is that, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Fortnight.
You like that word?
Fortnight. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Sometimes words hijack a little bit thinking of that word. Do you feel like do you feel like the groups you're involved in now on school are like you're able to like have a better relationship with the groups than early days maybe? Like how has that changed for you? Because it feels like you're in this more stable zone we were talking about, and so has your setup with school changed a lot, like as far as your involvement, your day-to-day?
Yeah, I definitely, like when I first jumped on, it was like, well, and I very much trust my gut instincts, and it was like, this is somewhere you need to be. Don't really know how or what, so just lean in hard and make connections and build up on the leaderboard and all that sort of stuff. But then as I got going, it's the same thing around not staying true to who you are. It's like I'm far better when I sit just outside of things, that I can keep some perspective. I find that when I in the whirlwind with someone else, it's like you're way too close to it. You know, that whole thing, you can't see the forest for the trees, like you are in it. Whereas when I stay sort of one step out and be, you know, sort of overlooking things and being more sort of advisory, I find that, you know, I enjoy it way more, but I also give way more, you know, and better value. That I think someone has to be, you know, in the trenches, and I think dipping in and out for me, and sort of high level, and then sort of seeing what, you know, and always looking around. That, you know, I think someone has to always keep their, you know, eye on the ball, but then I'm looking around, seeing, okay, well, you know, what are other people doing and all that sort of stuff, and sort of trying to find best practices. When I look across, you know, every business that I've been in, that's where I've done my best work. So I'm just basically switched back to focusing on that.
Yeah, it seems like you still have some residual school. Like you're still in I noticed you're in the leaderboards, all-time leaderboards. I think like school, community. You have a different type of like ability to you can kind of grind on the level of an operator, but you can also kind of zoom out on the level of like, you know, the director type. I feel like you've got kind of this mix. Probably lean more one way or another, but
well, it's that obsessive side, right? It's the same thing we were talking about before. So, you know, I love detail, and so, you know, I love writing contracts, and I love writing fine print and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, I know that addictive side of me can get way too caught in the granular detail, and, you know, and that I have value when I'm zoomed out, and so I need to not in, you know, and I like the word indulge, because that's what it is for me. It's like indulging too much in the specifics, because I know that, you know, a lot of people struggle to see, you know, the broader vision of things, and so it's like, well, I need to not overindulge in that, otherwise I'm going to not do the thing that, you know, others struggle to do.
Yeah, dude, it is an indulging situation, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that people get offended when I, you know, use that word, but
It's a good word.
I think it's a perfect word. It's like, you know, like a lot of people, when they, you know, they get upset, and it's like, okay, but, you know, you are choosing this experience, which means you know, you're indulging in your own suffering, which is fine, you know. But, you know, people find this despair, and it's like, actually, just recognize that you've chosen this experience, and at any point you can ask yourself the question, do I want to continue this experience, or do I want to experience something new, you know? And you just pick it. So you're actually, you know, completely in control where you thought you were out of control, and just realize that, you know, you're just indulging in your own suffering, and, you know, and that's fine. And there shouldn't be any judgment on that. Like, sometimes we all just love to, you know, beat ourselves up a bit, but choose when to stop experiencing that.
Are you a religious or spiritual guy, Dave?
Yeah.
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 I was like, we're getting into suffering, we're getting into this stuff. It's good, dude. I find that a lot of the people that I like the most in life got a little bit of something in them like that. Like, you definitely got it. I think whenever Culture was having like the weekly meetings, dude, and like I'd show up, it was like that part of it that was the most fun for me, is like this it's almost this like, yeah, some kind of spiritual, or not even only spiritual, it's like spiritual and personal development, you know, whatever it is. That night, that combo is really good, and you were really good at like interfacing that and being the moderator of that, and so good.
Yeah, something like that needs to come back. I just think, yeah, the way Culture was, you know, what it was created for, and, you know, why people joined, you know, it wasn't, you know, it was set on a different tone. But that, you know, that for me, those kind of, chats around religion, spirituality, philosophy, all that sort of stuff, personal development. Like, yeah, I'd grind that, nonstop. I think that's
Mm-hmm. Are you like doing anything? You sounds like you've got some school stuff, and then you also have some like of the family stuff, some of the contract stuff. Are you like doing? Are you thinking about like 2025? Like in any type of way right now? Like for me, I'm like, oh, I'm bullish on email. I'm thinking about these AI apps. I'm using those. My goals are these. Do you have any? Are you thinking about any of this stuff? Do you have any goals, or are you excited about any like things that you're working on, that you're working out this year?
Yeah, I mean, so school was interesting for me. Is that it's, there is everything's out there for everyone to see, and my goal in life has always been to, make huge piles of money, have heaps of freedom, and no one have any idea how you got there and all that sort of stuff. But it's like just, and so, where I'm involved in communities, and I'm not, I know we spoke about the co-creator thing before, but I like that, I like not having everything on show. And so, for me this year, like, yeah, I'm definitely, big one for me is, trying to make some big moves, but, because I was thinking about this, getting ready, to jump on with you. And it's like, oh man, there's like so much stuff, I want to share with you, but I'm like, like publicly, I don't want to share it,
Yeah.
and I think that there is, great power in keeping things to yourself. Like there's a lot that's been said, around that, but when you share things, you get this little pang of, gratification, and it dilutes your ability to actually achieve the outcome and things like that. So, not sort of celebrating wins too early, and not sort of, having this grandiose approach to, being like, yeah, and I'm going to, do all these things, because you diminish your chances of doing it. That's definitely, what people say, but it's also definitely been my experience in life. It's like, the more I talk about shit that I'm doing or want to do or things like that, less chance I actually have of actually making it happen. But so that's one thing. And the other side for me this year is, going back to picking things that, if I, really tune in, and like Lexi, was massive helping me with this around, checking in and going, is this like a fuck yes? And if it's not that, if it's just a yeah, or, or I've got spare time, so I'll look at it and all that sort of stuff, I just, none of that this year. It's all just, it has to be, perfectly aligned, and I want to trust the process, and, that everything's, working as it's meant to. So I need, stay focused on the things that are 100%, light me up and are aligned.
Yeah, man, I feel that. I think it's like hard. I feel like you kind of develop like a discernment to get good at picking things. And even if you do, it's still like end up doing the wrong things from time to time. You got to kind of slow down, speed up. And I feel like the like actual doing of whatever it is, like, this is going to get a little Rick Rubin-y, but I just feel like the way you do it is really the secret. I feel like if I can dial it in for one thing, I could dial it in for anything, that, like, whether it's writing marketing copy or being in one-on-one meetings or writing code or making music. It's just kind of like, you got to do it a certain way, I think, to kind of respect yourself. And I think that if the things that are like the fuck yeah are, I feel like they're fuck yeah because you know you'll be able to do it that way. It's like going to be automatic. It's like why it's a fuck yeah. And I definitely agree with picking things like that. I also like have this goal, this side goal of like being able to just fuck yeah anything because I know how to like be in the zone with whatever I want. Like that's the ultimate dream. Some things are hard to do that with, but I don't know. I force myself to be like to have a great time with some really weird shit, dude. I had a great day once. It was the best day ever. This whole year, one day stood out, and it was the day I had to wait for the FedEx guy by the road because I live like a quarter mile down a gravel road, mountain roads, 4x4 only, and I knew he couldn't get down there, but I had a camera arriving, and I was excited about it, and I just the best part of the day was just it was like 4 hours sitting in a lawn chair by the road where you don't want to hang out, but I had no signal, and I was just in a particularly like I was reading Thich Nhat Hanh that morning, like a Zen Buddhist poet, and I went out there and I'm just like thinking about like being happy as I'm breathing, and like it ended up being this like this is just like the best day of my fucking life, dude. Just waiting for the FedEx guy. There's just like nothing about that activity would have suggested that that would be that, but I always think back to that, and I was like, the thing that was really different about that day is like I decided to take control of the way I was going to be that day. And I also was able to do it because I had no signal and I didn't have any of my devices around me and my vices/devices around me. And it was just perfect. It's like, I just think back to that.
It's it's interesting when you're asking me about the goals for the year, and it's like, and I'm probably opposite to a lot of people that I really focus on the broad strokes, and so it has to be in alignment with those things. But it's like the goals for me are abundance and freedom. Ultimately, it's like, and that encapsulates so much, right? It's like, but when I'm checking in on things, it's like I want it to really, tick those boxes. So it's like, even yesterday, I got a massive national park behind where I live, and when I walk out there, I did like 10 Ks, which I don't know how many miles that is. It was like an hour and a half or something on these sandy tracks, and there's like goannas and snakes and like all this stuff. And I used to walk and listen to audiobooks and stuff like that. And I was like, great, I can double up here, and I can really, I can get even more done. I can get my exercise done. I can be in nature. I can get some sun, and I can learn something. Like, fuck yeah. And I found that when I just actually would, force myself to go, without the audiobook and without anyone else, and it's just like walking along, and then I like hear the sound. I'm gonna have to send you this video of this goanna up this tree. It sounds like, when it blows out air, it sounds like wind in leaves, and it's like a really eerie sound. It's like just staying there and just being present in that moment. And then there were like these beautiful blue butterflies, and I just stop and just watch them for a minute, and but then I realized that like the amount of like processing that's happening in my brain and clarity I'm finding around things, that if I sit in my office chair, it's this real stagnant energy, but I'm in nature and I'm moving, I find that things just naturally just work themselves out. And so for me, that that gives me a sense of abundance. Like the same as doing a great deal and making lots of money and making sure that everyone wins in the deal. That for me is abundance as well. So I think my goals for this year are just to stick true to the things that at my core,
Abundance and freedom. Where did those like principles like originate for you? How have those evolved into being the foundational things for a good year? Do you know how that started?
Well, I mean, freedom seemed pretty clear to me. It's like I would know if I felt, stuck in something.
Yeah.
It's that one for me was visceral. It was really a horrible experience if I feel stuck. So I knew it was like, okay, freedom, and being able to move around. And even like, I guess like 20 years ago, I was working the bank, they offered me 3 jobs, and it was like the one that I took when I joined them, was a relief manager role. And I had like maybe 10 branches in this regional area. I had to travel, and I had to, slot into a team on a day, pick up work that was half done, all that sort of stuff. And for me, knowing that, come clean some stuff up, leave the next day or a couple of days later or something like that, felt great. And then, when I got stuck in a branch for a while, I was just like, oh man, I feel like I'm dying in here. So, that's always been, pretty obvious. But the abundance one, I've had a spiritual mentor for maybe 15 years, and and it was I can't remember what words I was using before, but it was a collection of words, and it really didn't encapsulate. And he's like, no, the word really for you is abundance. And same thing as like when I sort of sat with it and felt it, I was like, yeah, that's abundance for me is around that, that actual joy and happiness and connection, and and you're not sitting in fear, and you're not, there's no anxiety and there's no frustration. You can't have any of those things if you're sitting in abundance. So I was just like, oh, that's a nice umbrella term for me.
Yeah, it's like the abundance. What's the there's the intersection of the abundance and then the indulgence. Where is indulgence? Is indulgence excluded from your definition of abundance? Is it sometimes included?
Indulgence, yeah, as I say, like, yeah, I use that word in a quite a derogatory way, even for myself. Like I find indulgence very selfish and self-centered and all that sort of stuff. That, for me, like abundance isn't, it can't just be for me, and it can't just be for my family and all that sort of stuff. Like, let's say, every business I've been in, I have had business partners in every single one of them, and it's like, I love doing shit with other people, and I love, everyone having a win along the way and stuff like that. And that, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to spend some time today pondering after this around, where's the line of abundance versus indulgence. But, I know in my gut, as soon as you say I go indulgence, ooh, I don't like that.
Well, at face value, like it's interesting to hear where your feelings are on the words, because like face value, I think of abundance and I think of indulgence as they just seem like similarly, like rich and indulgent things, but they have different
money though, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think they are the same. I think that it's interesting to talk about them because there's a difference. But just my connotations around those two words weren't that different until hearing you talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I like what you're saying. I totally agree with this idea that like you got to do it for like the whole. It's for the connect, like we're not like silo. Our human experience isn't supposed to be done like in a vacuum, It's like connection is like the biggest thing of all. So
yeah,
I like this abundance thing.
I had to look it up. Yeah, so saying abundance, about having enough and feeling grateful for it, rooted in the belief that the world is full of opportunity and resources, and there's no need for scarcity. And it's like, I definitely believe that for me, it's that there is more than enough in the world for everyone to have whatever they want, and everyone wants a different amount. And it doesn't, trying to move through life without judgment and say, okay, well, if you want more, you want more. And there's lots of people that, want less, and that's okay too, But then the indulgence, is the mindset, desire, and to overconsume, and promptly lack. temporary gratification rather than long-term fulfillment. Yeah, this is perfect. Energy is excessive or imbalanced, can lead to guilt, regret, or harm to self or others. Perfect.
These are the two these are the two words, dude, that I feel like I go in and out of balance because of, dude. It's either one or the other. It's like it's either, yeah, and it's a nice differentiator to think about. I think being a part of a team has been really good for me in the last year. Starting the ads lab, like not alone, like with Matt, with somebody, it was really good because just before that, like doing e-commerce, I felt like I was I was doing it with Issa, who I work with, who is excellent, but I feel like, like to have an actual business partner that cares about how things go, that's kind of a part of the vision, really, really different experience.
Yeah. And that, I mean, but there's, I don't know how many business partners I've had, a lot, but I think, trying to, make sure that aside from the opportunity that your core values align, that I know, for me, that abundance. So I know that sometimes, and the beauty of a partnership is that, sometimes I need to carry you and you need to carry me. Sometimes it's, my skill set that's going to be, the thing that the business really relies on. And sometimes it's going to be yours, and going, none of it really matters, because it's just the long play and everyone's going to win at the end of the day. Whereas when I reflect on, relationships and business that have gone the other way, it's because it is that opposite. There is, this micro tracking, of what's happening, and, and it doesn't really matter what's happened in the past. If you've done a lot, if today they think, you're not doing enough. And it's like, that's where probably a lot of my, and definitely, some key ones from last year, or key one, sort of fell down, is that core disconnect of values, that, and that really short-sightedness around, immediate gain versus long-term, abundance, really.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like, there's so many different like types of people that, like, the way that you work with another person is not it's not always known until you're like working together too. It's kind of like it sometimes can seem right, but you get in the pocket with a person and you're like, ah, shoot, it doesn't actually feel right. And it's like right on paper kind of a feeling, sometimes it's like right on paper, and then you're like, in practice it doesn't work. And yeah, I've dealt with that a lot too. Do you feel like that was like an experience that, I don't know, was it like something that you could have like done better? Do you look back and feel like I could have done better, or do you look back and feel like, oh, we just didn't know until we were in it? Like, how do you think back about all that with, like, when you're going through that?
Yeah, I mean, because as a core belief, I believe that everything's happening as it's meant to, which means every experience you've had was one that you had to have. I don't really look back at things with regret. I definitely look back at them and say, okay, where did it go, off the rails and things like that. And I think, I do agree to a point where you're saying, well, you didn't know at the time. But I think a lot of times I'm doing reflecting and going, okay, but were you, did you not look at the red flags because, the opportunity meant, and you got excited about the opportunity. So you're just like, look, there's some niggly things here, but, the the opportunity. And it's like, when I look back and go, well, you know, if the values aren't aligned, then ultimately, even if you make a quick buck, it's gonna cause you harm and distress and stuff like that. So it's like, every time, you know, and we all do, we repeat our, you know, mistakes until we've, you know, really, until it's beat us up enough that we, you know, decide to change. So yeah, there's definitely no regret, but a lot of, you know, reflection around that and going, okay, you know, did you, you know, were you going into that indulgent, you know, like, oh yeah, I can, you know, do something great here, even though I know fundamentally, you know, there's a misalignment, and just hope and bullshit to yourself that you can, you know, work it out and people will change, and, you know, all the other things I say to myself to try and make it okay.
Yeah. Signing up for things. Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty out there. I just haven't met that many people, you know, that are similar to me, that, you know, and you are very similar in that respect, that, you know, I suppose I had great respect for you when we were, you know, whatever that venture we were looking at doing last year. And then you were just like, it's just not perfectly aligned. I was like, I love that, you know, like that's a lesson I'm still learning, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and you just did it, and you're just like, yeah, no, and I was just like, oh man, like, I rate that. That was good. It was great to see, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a hard decision because it was a lot of it was good stuff, a lot of good stuff on paper, kind of thing, you know. And at the same time, it's like it's very hard to add layers of people to something and it stay good, I think, because everyone has their own sort of additional thing they bring in. And for me, I'm just protective and guarded over that to a pretty crazy degree. It's pretty rare that that I could work with somebody, like, especially in a venture that's kind of not the passion part.
Yeah.
You know, if this was like, it's different if it's like, I don't know, if it was like a book club, dude, for like esoteric books, I would not care as much. But if it's like a marketing venture and we want to make money and we're going to have to work hard to make money and we're going to have to make sacrifices with our family together and everyone needs to be like kind of pitching, it's like totally different. So I don't know. I feel like Matt, I knew Matt for a long time. Like, we started the ads lab, but I knew him for like maybe 3 years prior to that. We had never met in person, but like we became fast friends because we both had these like spiritual clothing companies with similar values, and we connected because we just liked each other's stuff, and we realized we were dealing with a lot of the same stuff, and we just became really close. And so like we both were venting to each other about how it just felt like things were falling apart. And that's when we started the ads lab. It was like, there's just so much of an understanding, so many shared values before we even were presented with anything. This is like an easy yes. I was like, oh, I can do this with a friend. Like, I wouldn't even do this otherwise. You need a friend. And so there's those moments. And then there's the Joel moment, which is like, Joel appeared in our mastermind, and I remember I thought Joel was like this cold hard killer dude, this like Alex Hormozy meets Assassin's Creed style guy that's just like a dominating like badass. And then the more I got to know him, the more I'm like, oh man, this guy's like one of us. He's like into philosophy, really grounded, cares more morally and ethically about like the greater good. And I'm like, wow, didn't notice that. And he's like, it's just my Spain accent. I'm like, it is just your accent. It totally, I just assumed you were a bad guy for a while. Dude, we got him an Assassin's Creed like Halloween costume for Halloween because we happened to all be in Vegas on Halloween because of these school games, and he wore it, and it was the best moment of Vegas seeing Joel in his little Assassin's Creed outfit. He wouldn't wear it in public, but I got to see it in the room. I was like, dude, that looks really good on you. Finally fitting the whole style of how I initially thought you were, which
Yeah,
is this guy. Anyway,
that's awesome.
yeah. The people though are like, that's the big I don't know, if surround yourself with the right people is kind of like the big unlock, it seems like to me.
Yeah.
But it's also
Yeah.
the hardest thing to figure out.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. As I said, like for this year, it was very much that, things had to be in alignment, that it wasn't just the project, but it was also, the people. And, I think, when I think back to when I was making, sort of $1 million a year with a construction company, it was like I was very discerning when I was looking at opportunities, because I was like, I don't need this, and I don't need headaches and all that sort of stuff. And then, when I've had leaner times, it's like, you compromise on those things,
Mm-hmm.
So, and that compromising is where the issue is. And it's like, because it comes from that, scarcity and fear of lack and things like that, I really decided this year to head back into the mentality and go, well, the best opportunities and the best outcomes came, when I was very discerning and very protective of my, my time and my skills. That it's not about, thinking that you're better than anyone, but just going, okay, I need to just really stay in my lane and do what I'm best at, and not compromise, and just trust the process that, the right things are coming, but stay open,
Yeah. That is a hard. Yeah. It is the compromise.
But I definitely
feel-
think, oh yeah, go on.
I was gonna say I feel like it's actually like it's hard for me to surround myself with the right people and also go in the direction of making money. I think that's the qualifier to add. It's
Yeah.
like when you add that qualifier, I need people that are good. They also know how to contribute to making money,
Yeah.
so that like we can exist as a unit,
Mhm.
but then not too much so that they they take it all, or they like don't contribute or it's the making money aspect that I think is really what I was thinking about. It's like with other people, when there's money, it's different. It's like a big it is a marriage, and it's like it's a hard choice. But anyways, that's a
No, look, and I've often used that term, that it is like a marriage, and that you need to respect the relationship almost, as much, because I mean, even when I had the construction company, I'd sit with my business partner and say, we sit in this office, I spend more time with you than I do my actual wife. And, and so like, it's important that we are, and the thing is, I found myself being so brutally honest with him, that it was just like, if we're going to make this, that anything that comes up, and that was always, a fundamental rule. It's like, if you're feeling it, and it's niggling away, and it's not going away, then bring it up, because obviously, when you talk about stuff, a lot of the heat and the energy comes out of it anyway. And when you hear yourself say things, a lot of times, they dissipate anyway. But I just found that having that, judgment-free relationship, to say we are so, aligned in our goal of what we're trying to create here, and our values are aligned, that we need to have this, judgment-free space to just get anything off our chest, because, the business deserves and needs that there is, harmony between us. And so, anytime anything, was niggling at either of us, we'd just say, right, I need to have one of those chats and sit down and have it. And it, God, it took all of the spice out of anything that either of us were feeling. And it was just like, great. And then that got dealt with and you moved on.
Yeah. It's hard to do. You got to be a big person to do that.
Well, but I think it's, what's the goal though, right? And it's that saying that I said to you before, it's like, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? It's like we all go into business, to make money and all that sort of stuff. But it's like, if you can't be the bigger person, you can't sort of be like, okay, I'll take this, or, yeah, what you're saying. And, it's for the betterment of the actual goal of why you're there. You get into business to, have some pissing contest with your business partner, and be like, yeah, so I'm right. And it's like, well, okay. And did the business suffer for you having to be right? Probably. So now you're just like, shooting yourself in the foot, really.
Yeah.
For a little ego hit. It's a big cost.
You reading any books right now, Dave?
No.
Anything? Are you a reader?
No, I'm an audio guy.
Audiobooks.
Yeah, I find that I need to have several on the go, and I always find, like, it's that same thing with the intuition. Like, I scroll through and I got hundreds and hundreds of books on Audible, and I just scroll through and it's like, that one, and I just click it, and wherever it's up to in the book is exactly what I needed to hear at that point. And then as soon as what they're talking about doesn't resonate, then I put that book down and I just scroll and I just pick up another one, and it seems to be perfectly. And it's like, but yeah, it's not every day or every week, but I go through patches where I'll be like, yeah, it's like I'm just consuming books the whole time, that balancing we're talking about. That all or nothing. This is definitely a nothing phase. But as I said, it's like, it's also been good to just not fill my head with more thoughts and just feel like I'm in a very big part of personal and business of declutter and simplification and clarity. So I'm choosing not to, consume more ideas at the moment.
That's good. That is good. I think that is another big there's another big, like, could be a big drain of energy. It's really enjoyable to learn stuff, but it's can be a large commitment of brain power you could give to other things.
Yeah. What about you? You got a book on the go?
Sometimes I read, I put all my business books on this little, like, Kindle, and then I have all my, like, spiritual and sort of magical books kind of on the shelves. And I typically pick up, like, the magical books because they're around, and then I'll read, like, on trips, or if I'm going through something and I want, like, a business take or companion, or, like, somebody tells me I need to read. But I typically pick up those, like, get some books over here. I don't know what I'm reading right now. I'm not really in a reading phase either. I think it's a little bit quiet for sure probably because of the coding project takes up a lot of my mental space. Whenever I'm not with family, it's like that's what I give it to. And then even if I don't have my computer, I'm like, I'm taking a walk basically to make progress on the dev project. Like, that walk should be a fucking business expense. You know what I'm saying? So not a lot of reading at the moment, but I've got some.
What would be your top couple of books? Like, have you got your go-tos that you?
Yeah, I reread the Four Agreements a lot.
Yep.
A couple times a year. I've just really connected with the way that the dude talks with, like, about those, like, agreements you make with yourself, and how you you can make new agreements with yourself and follow them. It's something I need to hear every now and then when shit gets out of hand. So I really like it. Also, the number one agreement is like, it has to do with the power of words, you know, like this like idea that what you say is the most impactful thing kind of to other people. You kind of have all this control, and they use this like this is this really wild example in the book about how, like, you know, like basically Hitler, he killed like millions of people like with his words, you know. It was like, it came down to people like following his ideas and finding his words compelling. And so I often like, I think I've trained my discernment from bouts of like going back to that book, remembering these things, to heighten my senses about the words that are coming at me. I think that's been a really big edge in business, even though I don't really read it for business. It's just for discernment in life, but it's like so valuable. It's like, if you can quickly understand like what it is you're dealing with when people start talking to you, you like get an advantage, I think, in business, but also just in life, as to like being around better people and setting better standards and values. And so that's been a big one. I love that book. I just heard the other day that there's like a fifth agreement. Somebody said in school community, they're like reading the fifth agreement. I was like, what's the fifth agreement? I didn't even know there was another book. So super pumped about this. I need to check it out wherever this is. I think this is right.
Yeah.
The fifth agreement.
I've got that book. I need to go back to that.
It's a good one.
At the time when I started, it wasn't resonating. I put it down.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah. And that, you know, I'm forever saying, definitely to my kids, you know, but to other people as well, that, you know, words matter, you know, and that being, you know, using the right words to convey the right thing at the right time is, you know, is power. Two of my favorites, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Go back to that a lot. I love that. I think that that's a really valuable book to, you know, help. And have you ever seen this one, The Yamas and Ninyamas?
No, what is it?
Exploring yoga's ethical practice. So it's like these sort of rules for, I think they were transcribed from Sanskrit, but it's like the actual, you know, the rules are great. It's like, you know, the first one is non-violence, and then, you know, truthfulness and non-stealing, all these sort of things. And then, so they're the yamas, and then the ninyamas are like purity and contentment and self-discipline and self-study and surrender. God, surrender, man, I love that. I love that word.
Dude. Michael Singer, The Surrender Experiment. Have you read it?
No.
Dude, it's good.
Really?
You know he wrote The Untethered Soul. Have you read that book?
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people have read that book. It's good, but The Surrender Experiment is I think it's better than, for me, I resonated more with that one than the Untethered Soul. But if you love this, if you're reeling with that idea, dude, that book like definitely changes the way you just interact with the world. It did for me. I remember like, because he's like an extremely successful business person. Michael Singer writes these flowery spiritual books. But I mean, I think his companies are worth like hundreds of millions of dollars or something. So like people, it's like he how like he attributes most of his success to just surrender. He's like, I don't have any plans. He's very spiritual. He's very a lot of it is pretty mystical. He like houses this guru because this opportunity presents itself where they can like utilize this property to build like a meditation center. And so that he ends up like doing that on a whim, and then like some big yogi like hangs out, like stays there, and he gets to hang out with them. Everything just like leads to another thing, and he's never trying to solve any problems. He's always just like surrendering to whatever is presenting itself, and it's amazing. It's a great one.
You asked me if I was spiritual or religious, and I don't know if you meditate. I when I'm in a self-abuse state, I don't meditate on purpose because I know I find so much, freedom and peace in meditation. But when this was a few years ago, I was meditating and, sort of came out into this clearing and I met this guy. He was an elephant and in the trees. And as he walked out, he turned into this guy, and he was carrying this little wooden box and, opened it up, and inside was the universe. I was like, my head was melting as this experience. And he whispered in my ear, "Surrender and you'll have everything you desire." And I was like, I basically came out of that meditation like, almost needing treatment. It felt like I was like, mind was blown. And, last year I was sort of going along and I just was hearing this voice, and, and it's like, and it definitely felt like God. Like I wouldn't say that I'm religious. I'm definitely, anti-organized religion. Like I think that anything that involves man, involves corruption to some level. And so, but I definitely do believe in God, and, and I just was hearing this repeated, surrender and you'll have everything you desire. And it's like trying to keep that as a mantra that I move through life with. And that it's like, yeah, so when you find yourself that you're pushing, and you're forcing, it's like, yeah, well, that's because that's, the opposite of love, is fear. And it's like that scarcity and fear is pushing and forcing, and all that is going to, ultimately take you to the, opposite direction of where you really want to go. And so for me, definitely that, and hearing that phrase repeatedly for a couple of months until I was like, okay, I've got it. And then it just stopped and I never heard it again. It was really spooky stuff. But yeah, that surrender and you'll have everything you desire is a phrase that I don't know how it came to me, but it's definitely stuck with me. So the word surrender is fantastic.
So did you keep hearing it for a couple months?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was, well, initially I was like, are you just making this up? Because at the time I'd started to go to church because I was curious about it. And when I was there, I was like listening and I was going, stories are great, but I can hear the manipulation in it as well. So I'd take the story for the story's value, and then everything else that whoever was speaking, would say afterwards, I would sort of, leave that in that room. So there was, I found that was coming up. That voice had come up, months after I'd started, and I went to a bunch of different churches just to see if the experience was the same at all, and it was for me. I was like, oh, maybe you're just making this shit up, and like, you've like been to church and that blah blah, and it's like, but it was persistent, and I was really highly resistant to it until the day that I was like, okay, and then when I started to talk to people about that experience, people that I'd otherwise had, relationships for, many years, and these were like business people, but there'd always been a sort of disconnect or a reservation. When I'd spoken to them then about that experience, I found that this was, even with my own, father, it was like, and he's very spiritual, but not religious. And he, the connection that I instantly opened this next door of, connection that otherwise was not available. And so, yeah, but it's definitely, like everything, I find like I need that reminder. I need to, remember to get back to that thing, because that's, there's a lot of power,
Yeah.
in that.
Do you meditate regularly today?
I haven't today.
Just
Um,
present day 2025, whatever year it is.
no, I haven't today. No, but after this, I'm going to go out into the national park and spend at least a good hour out there. You know, and I do find that is a meditative experience as well. But I do like also the one where I'm just there, listening to the frequencies and letting go as well.
It takes a lot of time for me to transition into like from sort of computer and lights and device to like I can really see what is going on outside when I'm outside. So like during a normal workday, I'll go on a walk. It might be like a 1 hour walk, but it's not even enough time to really be at the speed of like noticing things. It's just enough time to like relieve stress for that the 1 hour for me. I feel like I need like a day. The other day when we went mushroom hunting, it was like a whole day. No, we didn't have any signal. It was on the coast, which is pretty in the bush here. And so like I remember at one point it was like the middle of the day and I'd had a lot of time to just be not thinking about other stuff and be outside. And I remember looking at like there were mushrooms everywhere, but I was also just like noticing all of the different like fungi and smaller like pieces of moss and things on the trees. And it's such a rich place. I remember all the people that we were with were they were hunting for a mushroom type. There was one lady, she was like speeding through the forest. She's like, "You guys want to come with me? I'm hunting oysters." And I was like, "No, dude, we're trying to take a break." And we saw her just like cross our path like 5 times. She's like, "This area's been cleared." I was like, Jesus Christ, this lady doesn't. She's and so like we're just like mainly trying to spend time together. We might find a mushroom, or two. And like, I just feel like at one point we were in this one area and we must've been there for like 30 minutes. And I just stood in one place and I was just looking at one tree in this one spot. It was like 1 square foot of space. And I'm just like, I can't believe how much shit is just in this one place. I'm just like, the deeper you look, the more there is, and the longer you look, the more you realize that things are moving. Like it's living and it's changing all the time, and like it takes a while to like. I mean, I only get to a point where I slow down while I'm outside enough to do something like that, like every like couple times a year. It's like a shame. Because I feel like it's the way of life. This is my mission now after talking to you for 2025 is like maximize those amounts of times. Like they need to happen. I mean, at least every week. They should happen every day though. Like I live in the forest too. It's like I have no excuses, but like it's just amazing how much is happening. Just right there, at least right up for you too, like right outside the window. We're here, we're doing this, and it's great to connect with people, but like there's so much going on in nature. It's kind of amazing to watch. It's kind of like, Jesus.
Well, it gives you perspective, doesn't it? And I think, it's funny because you said, it's a shame. It's like, what I wanted to say that it's not a shame, it's a choice, It's completely in your control. And as I said, before, it's like, well, it's an experience you're choosing to not have that nice experience in your life, but at any point you can just decide to have a new experience and decide a different path. And I had to look it up because I wanted to get it right. It's like when you're saying, like I'm walking for, an hour and it's like, that's just enough to sort of, it's like you're over capacity and it just brings you back down to capacity basically.
Yeah.
And
the saying, if you can't meditate for 5 minutes, then you probably need to do it for an hour. Is the thing, right? And because that's where people go, I don't have time for this stuff, and it's like, well, then you should allocate more time to it. It's like, because I just think, and like I've been really trying to integrate, and I had no, I really didn't want to do it on this call, but trying to have hard stops for meetings and just be like, even if I haven't got something directly afterwards, to respect the time and the commitment and the agreement to hard stop, but sorry, I forgot where I was going to go with that. But I just think, you need to, you choose that experience. And I think that if you have, if you start to, hard stop on things like the coding and going and having dinner and all that sort of stuff, you will force, productivity up in the time that you allocate, which will, free up more time and mean that, you can do that. Maybe that's an hour in the morning, walk, and then there's the hour in the evening, and now you've doubled, and that compounded time, you're going to get that, from hitting the rev limiter to back down. The thing I wanted to ask you about, like something I really realized for me many years ago that was key to a successful day, a successful life, and things like that, was understanding what the domino was. That it's like if that first one falls, everything falls into alignment. And the irony that I haven't done it today, that it's like, for me to be out in nature and exercise as the first thing, if I do that first, then my day is always better. Everything always gets better, because I know that is my first domino. And if I miss that, and like I said, I'm going to do it after this call, but it'll be, sort of hitting around lunchtime, and I'm in the subtropics, and like it's hot as hell. So that's going to be, but I don't mind a bit of punishment either. So I go, well, that's, that's the cost of you, not doing it, to do it. But do you know what your first domino is for the day?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like wake up, no phone, get coffee, and then it's like an hour, like with myself, either writing or thinking. And it's not usually business. I'm the first one awake, and like it's usually that like session. I used to like actually go to a typewriter and like write on a typewriter because I wanted to write words a little bit faster. I didn't want to use a computer. I didn't want to actually pencil them down either. But now I know that's the thing, because I've been in the zone where that is definitely the thing that does it. And then by the time I start at 9 a.m., like either hanging with family or working, I've had this like kind of like morning pages kind of feeling. It's like no spoken things, but I can think and not write anything, or I can think and write something. Just that like space for an hour. Sometimes I will not. Sometimes I will just sit, and it's just like coffee and silence. But I know that's it. Now, am I doing that? The answer is I am not right now.
Yeah.
It is a compromised season of life for sure. But I know that's it. I gotta get back to that. Yeah.
Maybe that's what we need. We need to have a community for that.
Dude, that's a great idea.
Of best practices for your best life.
Yeah.
So everyone's is going to be different, but that's the hard thing as the entrepreneur's journey, is that you don't have someone there being like, no, you need to be here at this time and all that sort of stuff. They're all choices, and we are as a race that we just humans will do things to the detriment of their goals all the time.
Dude, it's a great idea. I've actually been thinking about this more than you probably know lately because, well, Matt, he's such a good friend. We talk about a lot of stuff. I told him about the AI coding tools that I was using and how fun they are. And I was like, actually, I wasn't even using them yet. I told them about these tools that I was learning about and how cool they look. And then he started using them. And he's like, dude, you have to use these. You're using these, right? And I was like, I've been meaning to. He's like, do it right now. And he like got me into using these. Anyways, he like created an iPhone app in like a week or a weekend because he had always wanted to make an app where he runs a company called Nature Backs, and he basically gets people to go outside. That's like his mission for his company. He's like, go outside. His clothing is to remind everybody on the earth just to go outside. So he made this app, which was just like, he had this idea where he wanted everyone to watch the sunset together. And it's just like an app where it just reminds you to like catch the sunset. And that's all it is. And, in like a week's time, he made this app. He like put it in the app store and it was live. And then he posted on TikTok. He's like, I made this app and it's like, I want everyone to watch the sunset together. I have this mission. I want like 1 million people to watch the sunset together. And it like hit like top 100 in utilities. Like it started blowing up. All this is happening.
That's awesome.
And this was like in the last couple weeks. So this is still fresh. He's now like becoming a active like builder of this app. And he's mentioned to me a couple times that like I started the company Awake Happy, and it's a clothing company, and it's to remind people. It's similarly like this is why we like each other, why we met. It's like to remind people of the messages that like keep you balanced when you need to hear them. So you put them on your body, you see them, you show them to other people, and like it's like be kind to each other. There's some messages that are a little more esoteric and have like parts of books that I like on them. And Matt's like, dude, you need to make something. Like I'm reminding people to watch the sunset. Like Awake Happy needs to be an app where you do something when people wake up. They wake up and what makes them happy. And so for some reason I've been thinking on this thing of like if there is some mechanism that I would create, they would be for the purpose of like helping people when they first wake up be in balance. What is that mechanism? Like I've been thinking about this and I've been like, I've been unsure. I've been thinking about what I do. And for me, it's like, well, I have to get away from the thing that sucks me in really hard, which is really challenging. I have to get away from like my phone and my computer. So we'll build an app to what? Like, make sure people don't use their phone like for a while, or make sure they have an intention for the day. Like what would it actually be that wouldn't be just like some headspace flavored variety? I don't want to just add to this noise of like, it's a meditation app. You said an intent. Yeah. So I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about like start.
Yeah. I mean, the sunset's great. I think, but the thing is, the thing that we're talking about, where I'm seeing an alignment between our first dominoes, is actually taking time for ourselves.
Yeah.
Putting ourselves first. So, maybe it is just as simple as that. But it's like, you have your commitment to say, tick off and say, did you take time for yourself? Now, whether that is meditating, journaling, sitting, having a coffee, watching the sunrise, walking in nature, whatever it is, maybe the thing is you just go a bit broader on that. It's like, it's just an accountability app to, did you take time for yourself today? Did you start?
You have to prove it. You have to submit evidence that you took time for yourself today. Yeah.
But maybe it's that. Yeah, you take the photo of the sunrise. Maybe you take a photo of the walking track, or your journal with, scribbles on it, or
there's an app where like you can basically like put money on whether or not you'll go to the gym, and like different people in your group, you all kind of have skin in the game, and every day you have to prove you went to the gym. You have to take a picture at the gym, and if your picture doesn't come in like the group gets your money and everyone's money is in. And like if you don't submit, like it's kind of like every day there's a bet, and like in the you different people basically grow. It's like that. Maybe it's not money, but accountability. The accountability aspect could be like you could like how does that solidify is interesting.
The energy's wrong though, right? Like,
Yeah, it's wrong.
you know, it's, you know, because it's the same thing about the flame on school, right?
Yeah.
That thing. It's like, you know what? If you know you did the thing, you know, and you should only be doing it for you and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's funny you say that. You know, with that spiritual mentor years ago, we were joking about different app ideas, you know, and I was like, what about a meditation app, you know, for A-type people where they could compete the shit out of being the most mindful? And like, it's like complete opposite of what you're actually doing. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I meditated for 4 hours today. I'm the winner. It's like, you know, like just something as stupid as that. Because,
Yeah.
you know, like that was a joke. It's like, you know, because I think, sure, and I love jokes and I love joke ideas, but I think the thing, you know, you're talking about is actually, you know, about people actually living a more abundant and joyful life. That it's like, it has to be, you know, for them. Like I use Insight Timer, and so, you know, for meditating, and so it's like, you know, that's got the streak on there and all that sort of stuff, and that's I don't know. I mean, I need to look at. I don't know if other people, you know, can see that streak or not, but you know, I hope they can't, because I really don't give a shit, and I know that I would get sucked into them looking and going, oh shit, there's someone at, you know, whatever, you know, I need to do another 100 days straight, you know, and it's like, I hope they fall off the wagon, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
Shit. Whereas if it's, you just keep it just for you, I think it forces purity. And, you know, without that corruption of, you know, that the energy of why you're doing it is for something other than, you know, yourself.
You know, another way that you could go about it is like, so the open source community kind of has this right in a way that the competitive thing is wrong, which is like the incentive is just that you make something like for the greater whole. You're like, you've helped, you know?
Yes.
Like if the purpose was like, you make the collective mind stronger if you take care of yourself, and we're all just like, dude, you did it today. And it's like there is a greater thing that we all are helping. It feels like that could be the missing like angle. If there's an angle to think about that could make it unique, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's an angle. You're using the word angle, I'm using the word energy. That it's like, you know, I think that, yeah, if it was that, you know, did you take time for yourself today, you know, and it's like, great, you know, do you want to give yourself a pat on the back? Yes. And it's like, you know, 15 million other people gave themselves a pat on the back today, you know, and it's like, so it's only for you, but you know that, like you're saying, everyone's doing their bit, you know, to live more in harmony and more in alignment, which means that the world is going to be, you know, a more peaceful place overall. Yeah. You know, you're doing your bit, but you're only focused on your patch, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I like it.
Yeah. It's like the Farmville for personal growth. No, it's not that. Dave, let's leave it there as far as what we put on the record today, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Before you, Andy, you're gonna have a commitment of the app. When's the app going up?
Oh no, another app.
Morning app.
Yeah, the morning app. The morning reminder. Matt reminds people to catch the sunset. I remind people to catch the sunrise. What a balance. I don't know, dude.
Off record.
I will commit to continuing to think about it.
Good.
I think it is worth thinking about regularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been real. David, I guess people shouldn't follow you on Instagram, but what could they do if they were interested in finding you and learning more?
Well, I mean, yeah, Davioso Instagram will be back at some point, but otherwise, yeah, on school, I suppose. I don't know.
Rock and roll.
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn and all that, but yeah, I don't really spend much time there, so probably school.
I'll see you on school, Dave.
All right, man.
All right,
Love
see
it.
you.
Thanks, man.